members of the Commission. The program for today's ceremony will be as follows. First, I'll be inviting excellencies, invited guests, and delegates and participants to assume a solemn posture for the observance of the AU anthem. After the AU anthem, the opening address of the chairperson of the African Commission will be delivered. Following his opening address, the chairperson of the African Commission will administer the solemn declaration to each of the 4 new members of the Commission. Once the declarations have been made, the new members will make a brief remarks, whereafter the chairperson will invite a senior commissioner of the African Commission to welcome the new commissioners. The chairperson will then make his closing remarks, which will then lead us to the end of the ceremony. Excellencies, distinguished participants, and guests, at this stage, I will now invite us all to assume a solemn posture for the observance of the AU anthem. Excellencies, distinguished guests and participants, at this juncture, it is my pleasure to invite Honorable Dr. Solomon Derso, Chairperson of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, to deliver his opening address.
Thank you very much, Lindiwe, our Master of Ceremony and Acting Executive Secretary of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. I would like to start off by welcoming all of you to this extraordinary session of the Commission, at which the Commission would execute the solemn declaration of the new members of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. Excellencies, representatives of state parties to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, Excellencies, distinguished representatives of African Union bodies and institutions, Excellencies, honorable colleagues, members of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, representatives of national human rights institutions, representatives of international, national institutions and civil society organizations, distinguished invited guests and friends of the Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and if there are friends and colleagues who have joined us where it is in the evening, a very good evening to you as well. Allow me to welcome you all to this virtual session of the Commission. I hope that wherever you are joining us from today, you find yourself safe and healthy. As we all know, we find ourselves in an unprecedented times. The spread of the novel coronavirus, COVID-19, on the continent has disrupted our lives, the lives of families, communities, societies, and institutions, including our own, the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. As you may all know, our plan was to have today's activity undertaken during the ordinary session of the Commission, scheduled for April 2020, during which to welcome the new members of the Commission in person at our venue for the session in Banjul, the Gambia. As part of the measures adopted to prevent the spread of COVID-19 and to protect participants and staff, the ordinary session that was meant to take place in person in Banjul has been postponed. Given the ongoing nature of the COVID-19 pandemic, and thus the uncertainties as to when it would come to an end, the Commission felt it was warranted that this 28th extraordinary session be convened virtually in order to hold the swearing-in ceremony of the new members of the Commission. As you all recall, the new members of the Commission were elected during the latest summit of the African Union held in February 2020. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the mandate entrusted to the African Commission is a noble and very weighty one. We, as members of the Commission, are summoned to ensure the promotion and protection of the rights and freedoms guaranteed in the African Charter. Ours is a mandate for giving voice to the voiceless. Ours is a mandate for coming to the defense of those who couldn't find protection at the national level. Ours is a mandate for strengthening the system of protection of rights at the national level to ensure that the space for the enjoyment of human and people's rights are widened. Ours is also a very onerous and yet inspiring responsibility of working for realizing the ideals and values underpinning the African Charter, namely as provided for in the preamble: freedom, equality, justice, and dignity. It's not just that the weight of our mandate is heavy, its nature noble, and its ambition demanding and inspiring. What makes our role critical is also the fact that the need and demand for the promotion and protection of human and people's rights on our continent is enormous. Enormous on account of the trinity of burdens weighing on our continent and our people, namely the burden of history and its continuing legacies, the burden of bad governance, and finally, the burden of unjust international power relations. Unfortunately, the means available at our disposal and the capacity of our institution are very limited. The context in which we also operate is highly constrained. The weight and nobility of our mandate and the enormity of the demand for human rights protection on our continent means that we have to work beyond the call of duty, mastering all the energy, time, and limited capacity available. Even then, excellencies, colleagues, friends, we always operate under the shadow of not being able to meet the expectations of many fellow Africans who knock on our doors, seeking the delivery of the protection our charter promised them. Excellencies, honorable colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, the scale of the enormity of the need for the promotion and protection of the rights and freedoms guaranteed in the African Charter has been laid bare by the COVID-19 pandemic. This need cuts across all categories of rights: civil and political rights, economic, social, and cultural rights, and collective rights of peoples. Indeed, one of the most powerful lessons of the COVID-19 pandemic is that We need the protection of human rights more in times of emergencies than in normal times. We need these protections as we come out of this pandemic and as we build back. We need such protection not only from fear and hence from violence, including from excessive use of force that we have witnessed in many of our countries during the pandemic, but also protection from the conditions that have stripped the masses of African people of their dignity on a daily basis, and more so in times of emergencies such as COVID-19. We in particular need more protection from the conditions of want, from the conditions of lack of access to water, lack of access to sanitation, lack of access to shelter, lack of access to healthcare and education, conditions that have left the vast majority of our public vulnerable to the scourge of COVID-19. The nobility of our mandate and the enormity of the demand for the protection of the Charter rights also means that we have at all times to consider whether and how our actions or lack of it contributes to or undermines the code of the African Charter, the promotion and protection of the rights in which is the raison d'etre for the existence of our Commission. Our pledge as members of the Commission is to discharge the Commission's mandate with the utmost responsibility, dedication, and resolve by working beyond the call of duty. Our pledge is to be catalysts for ensuring observance of the principles and standards of the African Charter. Our pledge is for ever expanding the scope of protection of the rights and freedoms in the African Charter. Our pledge is for upholding the African Charter without fear or favor. Our pledge is to call on member states to respect the African Charter when security forces use excessive force, to urge on member states to extend protection for women and girls when gender-based and sexual violence is on the spike and when it is perpetrated with impunity. Our pledge as members of the Commission is to exercise the utmost responsibility and wisdom to ensure that we are not found wanting when the need for exercising the mandate of the Commission arises. Our pledge is to do everything for us not to fail in shouldering our responsibility individually and collectively, to ensure that our actions or inaction do not stand on the way of the Commission exercising its authority and discharging its responsibility for promotion and protection of the rights enshrined in our Charter, the most supreme instrument of the African human rights system. This we have to do strictly within four corners of the African Charter. This we have to do with absolute respect of the trust bestowed on us to serve as guardians of the rights and freedoms enshrined in the African Charter on human and people's rights, the most supreme instrument of our human rights system on the African continent. Only by living up to such standards can we come anywhere close to overcoming the institutional and capacity limitations we have and to achieve a degree of success in delivering on our mandate. We do not have the luxury or the choice to do otherwise, but bind ourselves to and operate on the basis of such very high standards of responsibility and conduct. As you clearly note from what I have said thus far, being elected into the African Commission is one of the highest honors for anyone who becomes a member of our Commission. Today's ceremony is an affirmation of and a testament to this fact. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as have been said earlier, the aim of this extraordinary session is to allow the incoming members of the African Commission to make the solemn declaration. Second, it also aims to give an opportunity for the Commission to introduce its new members to the public at large, because the pledge for upholding the African Commission is a commitment that we make not only to the African Commission, but also to the African public, and hence holding this ceremony in public. This extraordinary session is also an opportunity for us for induction of the new members of the African Commission. At this point, I wish to extend a very warm word of welcome to the 4 newly elected members of the Commission. I know I speak on behalf of my colleagues, commissioners, and staff of the Secretariat in expressing our best wishes in their new role as members of the African Commission. I very much look forward to working together with each of you towards strengthening the promotion and protection of human and people's rights on the continent, and taking the Commission to a new height of progress in delivering on its mandate. As we welcome our new commissioners, we have also to pay tribute to our outgoing members of the Commission. I would in particular like to thank my predecessor, former chairperson of the African Commission, Commissioner Soyata Maiga, former vice president of the Commission, Commissioner Lawrence Mute, former members of the Commission, Commissioner Lucius Wagbo, and Commissioner Jung. I would like to thank each of them for serving the African Commission and for contributing tremendously to the delivery of its mandate in the promotion and protection of human and people's rights in our beloved continent. I would like to wish them all the very best as they take on the next challenge in their career. I come to the end of my speech. I would like, Excellencies, honorable members of the Commission, colleagues, to thank you for your kind attention.
Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, thank you for your very profound and inspiring opening remarks. I now invite you to proceed to lead the official administration of the solemn declaration to the 4 new members of the Commission.
Thank you very much again, Acting Executive Secretary. As presented earlier, we would start the administration of the solemn declaration of the members of the Commission. And in this respect, I would like to request that as they take their solemn declarations, as they make their solemn declarations, for them to raise their right hand in making the solemn declaration. I would, with your kind permission, colleagues and excellencies, like to call on first Honorable Commissioner Marie-Louise Abomo. Honorable Commissioner Abomo, you have the floor to make the solemn declaration with
Merci,
your
Monsieur.
right hand raised.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, de me passer la parole. Moi, Marie-Louise
Honorable
Abomo,
Commissioner,
je
your mic
m'engage
is mute.
solennellement
Can you unmute your
à
mic?
remplir mes fonctions de manière appropriée et fidèlement, ainsi qu'en toute
Honorable
impartialité.
Commissioner, your mic is mute. Can you unmute your mic? Commissioner Abomo, can you start again?
Okay.
Mic was mute.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Start again.
Moi, Marie-Louise Abomo, je m'engage solennellement à remplir mes fonctions de manière appropriée et fidèlement, ainsi qu'en toute impartialité.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. We very much appreciate the solemn declaration that you have just made. I now have the honor to invite Honorable Commissioner Mudford Mwandenga to make the solemn declaration. Honorable
Thank you.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Commissioner. I hope I'm being heard.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. In conformity with Article 38 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, as read together with Article 10 of the Rules of Procedure of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, I, Mudford Zakaria Mwandenga, do solemnly undertake to carry out my duties well and faithfully in all impartiality.
Thank you Thank you very much, Commissioner. You are very welcome. I have now the honor to invite Honorable Commissioner Ndaeme Guy. Commissioner Guy, you have the floor.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. Moi, Nyambe Guy, je m'engage solennellement à remplir mes fonctions de manière appropriée et fidèlement.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Guy. I have now the honor to invite Honorable Commissioner Alexia Gertrude Amsbury. Commissioner Amsbury, you have the floor.
I, Alexia Gertrude Amsbury, solemnly undertake to carry out my duties well and faithfully and in all impartiality.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. We have now concluded the administration of the solemn declaration of the 4 members of our commission. Thank you.
Honorable Chairperson, the solemn declarations of the 4 new members of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, having now been made and completed, I now again give you the floor to invite the new commissioners to make a few remarks.
Thank you very much, Lindiwe. Lindiwe informed me earlier on as we start, but she was advised that protocol-wise, this is not something that normally happens, but since it is already on the agenda, I think it's fine if we proceed with this agenda. So I would like to request first Honorable Commissioner Abomo to make brief remarks. Commissioner Abomo, you have the floor.
Merci de me passer la parole une fois de plus, Monsieur le Président. Excellences représentant les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, Excellences représentant les chefs d'État partis à la Charte africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples, Monsieur le Président de la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples, Monsieur le Vice-président de l'auguste institution, Excellences et chefs des organes délibérants de l'Union africaine, Mesdames et Messieurs les représentants des organisations internationales des droits de l'homme, chers participants, en vos rangs, titres et qualités, je vous présente mes respects. La qualité de membre de la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples étant un insigne honneur, je remercie solennellement tous ceux qui, à différents niveaux, ont cru en mes capacités et rendu possible ma présence ici et maintenant. Conscient tant de l'ampleur de la tâche que de l'importance des responsabilités qui seront désormais les miennes, je voudrais souligner ma détermination à relever le défi dans le but de servir notre continent, notre organisation et les peuples africains. Humblement, je vois en la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples une instance qui, dans le cadre de son mandat de promotion et de protection des droits de l'homme en Afrique, doit notamment contribuer efficacement à la réalisation de l'aspiration numéro 3 de l'agenda 2063, laquelle met en relief le respect des droits de l'homme, la justice et l'état de droit. En tant qu'organe central dans le dispositif institutionnel des droits de l'homme, au niveau de l'Union africaine, notre institution a pour tâche de contribuer à la garantie des droits des personnes relevant de la juridiction des États africains. Elle doit pour ce faire capitaliser les valeurs engagées, les valeurs partagées sur le continent, dans une optique d'enrichissement de l'universalité des droits. Compte tenu de la place de la collégialité au sein de la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples, mon action collera à la mission à elle confiée dans l'architecture institutionnelle de l'Union africaine. C'est dans cet esprit que je m'attellerai, avec les autres membres de la Commission, à contribuer à l'enrichissement des normes relatives aux droits de l'homme à travers soit les projets d'instruments, soit l'œuvre d'interprétation des instruments adoptés. Je m'investirai également avec courtoisie et prudence dans le dialogue avec les différentes parties prenantes afin de permettre notamment aux États, qui sont les premiers responsables de la garantie des droits de l'homme, d'assumer au mieux leurs obligations en prenant notamment en compte les recommandations formulées par la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président, chers participants, de votre aimable attention.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Abomo, for your remarks on assuming office as member of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. I would like now to invite Honorable Commissioner Mwandenga to make a brief remark. Commissioner Mwandenga, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. To begin with, I would like to thank the government of the Republic of Zambia for having nominated me to this particular position. I would also wish to thank the heads of states of the AU who elected me to this particular position. I do not take my election to be a small matter, but I take it to be a very serious issue which has bestowed upon me very huge responsibilities, which will require me to assist to a very large extent in the promotion and protection of human rights in Africa. That is a responsibility which I take very seriously, and that is also an issue which is at the heart of my work. I will ensure that I will discharge my duties, as I have said in my solemn declaration, diligently. It is also my hope, and I look forward to working with the rest of the commissioners, as well as the commission staff, to ensure that the commission discharges its mandate in promoting and protecting human rights in Africa. I really look forward to being of service to the Commission during my tenure and up to the time that I'll end my tenure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Mwandenga, for your remarks on assuming office as member of the African Commission. I would like to now give the floor to Honorable Commissioner Guy. Honorable Commissioner Guy, you have the floor. Commissioner Guy. Yes, thank you.
Monsieur le Président, honorable commissaire, distingués participants, à la suite de ma déclaration solennelle, je tenais à vous réitérer, à vous et à mes honorables collègues, mon engagement à servir avec abnégation la cause des droits humains partout en Afrique. C'est un grand honneur pour moi d'être parmi vous et j'accepte cette mission noble et exaltante au service de nos populations. Étant la seule institution ayant le privilège de contrôler l'effectivité des droits à travers l'examen des rapports des États et l'adoption de mécanismes et mandats spécifiques, notre commission doit être nécessairement un phare en Afrique, capable d'inspirer avec un grand prestige l'ensemble des pays africains. Pour arriver à cela, chaque membre de la commission doit inspirer confiance, professionnalisme et détermination. Nous avons la chance de trouver sur place des experts déjà rompus à la tâche et un secrétariat performant pour nous initier à nos futures responsabilités. Nous espérons, Monsieur le Président, dans un futur proche, apporter notre contribution à l'édifice et relever avec vous les nombreux défis de promotion et de protection des droits de l'homme en Afrique. Étant bien conscient que je siège parmi vous à titre personnel et indépendant, je ne manquerai pas cependant, dans la mesure du possible, de mener des actions soutenues auprès de mon gouvernement, le Sénégal, pour accompagner la Commission dans toutes ses demandes de collaboration et d'assistance. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Guy, for your brief remarks on assuming the office, your office as member of the African Commission. I would like now to welcome and call on Honorable Commissioner Amsbury for making her brief remarks. Commissioner, you have the floor.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Vice Chairperson, all members of the EU that have put their trust in my country to have me elected to the Charter as a commissioner. Seychelles may just be a dot on the world map, but today, due to the action of the AU and all the member states, Seychelles, for the first time, has a voice on an international body. Today is not only significant because for the first time, a Seychellois has been elected as a commissioner, but as it happens, it is also our Independence Day. So today is our National Day. Therefore, for Seychelles, it has a double significance. And for this, I'd like to thank the AU, all the member states, and all those that in one way or another got Seychelles to where it is today. And on behalf of the other newly elected and affirmed commissioners, I would like to thank the Secretariat for organizing this. It wasn't easy. It was a novel idea. And on all our behalves, I'd like to thank you all for organizing that. But more importantly, today, like the Honorable Chairman has said, there is a world pandemic. And what we are seeing is a awakening of the world consciousness. Black Lives Matter. Africa matters. And to me and to our charter, African lives matter. For centuries, Africa and African people have delivered to the world. Whether it was in terms of natural resources, we delivered. Today, our rights need to be recognized. Today, we need the help of the world because of this pandemic. Like the Honorable Chairperson says, we need help, healthcare. The African people, the continent, we need healthcare. We need food. We need shelter. So my message today is Africa matters. African lives matter. And we are here as commissioners on this commission to make sure that the voice of Africa is heard, that she is no more voiceless. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Amsbury. I would like to join you in wishing the Seychelles a happy Independence Day, and also indeed in echoing your point that our responsibility is to make sure that African lives matter. And this is a very onerous responsibility that we all bear. And fellow Africans look up to us to live up to this pledge that we are making. Thank you very much, all our new members of the Commission, for your brief remarks. Now, I would like to invite Her Excellency Commissioner Kaitesi, who is the most senior member of the Commission, to make a very brief remark. Commissioner Kaitesi.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Honorable Monsieur le Président de la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples, distingués représentants des États, distingués invités, et chers collègues commissaires, membres du personnel de la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples, au nom des collègues anciens, je voudrais aussi souhaiter la bienvenue au nouveau commissaire à la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples. Vous rejoignez l'équipe des commissaires au poste actuellement dans des moments difficiles dus à la pandémie du COVID-19. C'est un défi de plus aux défis qui sont déjà au niveau du continent en termes des droits de l'homme. La Commission africaine, vous avez l'idée, vous l'avez dit dans vos discours préliminaires, que c'est une commission qui a un mandat très, très important. Nous pensons que votre apport sera un apport très, très consistant. Les commissaires qui étaient là et qui viennent d'achever leur mandat ont donné leur contribution et nous pensons que la vôtre va aussi avancer l'agenda de la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples dans la promotion et la protection des droits de l'homme sur le continent. Nous sommes très ravis de vous accueillir dans cette famille de la Commission africaine et nous pensons que vous allez contribuer énormément comme nous le faisons. Et cette commission, c'est une commission qui demande et qui exige un engagement et la conviction ferme au principe des droits de l'homme. Et nous pensons qu'ensemble, nous allons continuer à faire avancer cet agenda qui n'est pas facile, mais aussi c'est une mission noble que tout le monde qui a passé à la commission pense que réellement c'est une mission qui amène notre continent à avancer dans la bonne gouvernance, à avancer dans le respect des droits de l'homme. Donc, je voudrais vous souhaiter la bienvenue et vous dire que nous sommes à votre disposition pour continuer à échanger. L'expérience est déjà acquise au niveau de la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme. Notre président a rendu hommage aux anciens commissaires qui viennent d'achever leur mandat. Je voudrais leur dire aussi que nous avons beaucoup apprécié leur expérience professionnelle. Nous avons apprécié leur amitié et nous pensons que ils vont continuer à contribuer d'une manière ou d'une autre à la promotion et à la protection des droits de l'homme sur le continent africain. On dit à la Commission que la responsabilité en matière des droits de l'homme, dans la promotion des droits de l'homme, c'est une responsabilité collective. Donc, d'une manière ou d'une autre, et pour continuer à donner aussi une contribution à la promotion et à la protection des droits de l'homme sur le continent. Donc, je vous remercie beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Kaitesi, for that warm welcome of our new members of the Commission. Thank you.
At this juncture, I now invite Honorable Chairperson to take the floor for his closing remarks.
Thank you once again to Acting Secretary, Executive Secretary of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, Lindiwe Khumalo, Excellencies, representatives of member states of the African Union, states parties to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, distinguished representatives of African Union bodies and institutions, Excellencies, honorable colleagues, members of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, colleagues, members, staff of the Commission, representatives of national human rights institutions, representatives of international and national institutions, as well as civil society organizations, distinguished invited guests. I would like to express my deep appreciation on my behalf and on behalf of the African Commission for joining us today for this, for the administration of the solemn declaration of the new members of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. This 28th extraordinary session of the Commission has been an opportunity for the new members of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights to make a declaration pledging to uphold the African Charter on Human and People's Rights without fear or favor, and to dedicate their intellect, time, and energy for the advancement of human and people's rights, for realizing the motto of the African Commission, human rights, our collective responsibilities, and for fulfilling that and making sure that African lives indeed matter. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as we are in a context of pandemic, we at the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, existing members and new members, would continue to do all that is required of us to ensure that human and people's rights become the center pillar of the response to the pandemic and the basis for rebuilding back post-COVID-19 on the African continent. I would, at this point in time, like to recognize and express my deep appreciation to our Vice Chairperson, Honorable Remy Ngoy-Lumbu, who, as member of the Bureau, contributed tremendously for the organization of this 28th extraordinary session and the administration of the swearing-in ceremony of our new members of the African Commission. I would also wish to express once again my appreciation and thanks to existing and outgoing members of the Commission for their support and their active engagement in the course of this pandemic, going beyond the call of duty in initiating the various tools and mechanisms of the African Commission for ensuring that human rights are not marginalized in the rush for containing the pandemic on the African continent. Rather, human rights are observed when states respond to the pandemic. And I thank them also for their support for the Bureau, for the Commission, in the convening of this swearing-in ceremony. I would also wish to thank
organiser cette
the
cérémonie.
Acting Executive Secretary,
Je voudrais également
Ms.
remercier
Lindiwe Kumalo,
Madame
and the
Lindoué
staff of the
Malo,
Secretariat
ainsi que le
for all
personnel du
their hard
secrétariat
work in
pour le
supporting
travail
the
acharné
noble
qui a
mandate
été
of the African
abattu
Commission on Human and People's
afin
Rights and
d'appuyer le
enabling
mandat
our
de cette
Commission
commission
to
et
deliver
permettre
on
aussi
this honorable mandate and in convening this 28th extraordinary session. I also wish to call on state parties to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, reminding them the statement that the African Commission issued on the 24th of March, 2020, relating to state parties' response, effective response to the pandemic on the basis of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. That state parties are duty-bound under Article 1 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights to ensure that our people are protected from the scourge of the pandemic, from the threat that the pandemic poses to their health and life. But it is also incumbent on state parties to avoid and ensure observance of all the rights guaranteed in the African Charter in the course of responding to the pandemic. The African Commission, on a number of occasions, expressed itself on the various issues of human rights that have emerged as a result of the response measures adopted by our state parties, some of which have unfortunately led to the loss of lives as a result of excessive use of force by security forces. This, Excellencies, representative of state parties, is not in accord with the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. In responding to the pandemic, our efforts should be in safeguarding life, not in causing its loss. I also would like to urge state parties to ensure that people's livelihoods are not wiped off as a result of the measures that we have adopted. And hence, it is incumbent on state parties to take all the mitigating measures required, including through the mobilization and provision of relief measures for people who are facing hunger due to the disruption of their livelihoods. I would also urge state parties to protect women and girls from the scourge of gender-based violence and sexual violence that has shown spike during this pandemic. This violence has no basis within the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, and indeed it is totally banned and condemned the protocol on the rights of women in Africa, the Maputo Protocol. I urge all to uphold both the African Charter on Human and People's Rights and the Maputo Protocol. In this respect, I would like to extend the appreciation of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights to national human rights institutions, to African courts that upheld their responsibilities during this difficult time for defending the rights of the most vulnerable. I would like to extend the appreciation of the Commission to civil society organizations and human rights organizations who, under difficult circumstances, have come to the rescue of those whose rights have been violated. I do hope that we have taken lesson and we will be shouldering our responsibilities, because human rights are our collective responsibilities, as the motto of the Commission puts it very well. I thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, for your closing remarks. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests and delegates, this brings us to the end of the proceedings. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests and delegates, this brings us to the end of the proceedings of the public session of the 28th Extraordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. The Commission will now retreat into a private session to undertake an induction program for the 4 new members of the Commission. The induction program commences immediately after the close of this public ceremony. The induction will continue tomorrow, the 30th of June, 2020, and will end on the 1st of July, 2020. On the 1st of July, 2020, at 11 a.m., the Commission will resume its public session for the purpose of delivering its final communique. The public session is open to all excellencies, delegates, and participants in the media, and the Commission invites your valuable presence on this occasion. Excellencies, distinguished guests, delegates, and participants, I now invite you to assume once again, as we close, a solemn posture to observe the African Union anthem.
Edwell, if you are there, if you could play the African Union anthem, please.
Hello, Commissioner. Hello, Commissioner.
Please play the African Union anthem. We are closing. Thank you.
Thank you all and have a good day.
Madame Lindue, can you hear me? Demandez-lui concrètement, nous revenons après combien d'heures?